Definitely something that's front and center in terms of the product team's mind, but we'll keep working on it. It's just setting the expectations that it is different and seeing how we can limit the returned data.
Yep. And I think we can get started with that session.
Okay.
Let people join and we can get started with the session. And Kelly, I made you the co-host.
Okay, awesome. Well, hello and welcome everyone from wherever you are. I see we have someone from Belgium, and I'm from Chicagoland area in the United States. And then everyone else joining us from India. Thank you so much for coming today to hear a little bit about Lightning experience. Let me present here. Now, I know Lightning is not new and it's been around for many, many years. I've actually worked with it from an adoption lens for 3.5, 4 years. But I just wanted to come on and talk about some of my favorite productivity enhancing features. But I also want this to be collaborative. So as you have experiences, please feel free to share. I'm not sure how many of you on the call are using Lightning today or have customers who are using Lightning. Maybe this is still a discussion with your customers, but you feel free to use these features to talk to anyone that might be on the fence or has yet to move over to Lightning. If you don't know who I am, my name is Kelly Walker. I have recently changed roles and moved to a pre-sales role of Senior Solution Engineer. So exciting to work with customers from a pre-sales lens. But for many years before, I really did work on that product adoption side, focusing mainly on Lightning experience. And if you want to get in touch with me, I added my Twitter handle and my LinkedIn profile. Now, I will say that over the last year or so, we changed our focus as a team away from Lightning experience into security. So for about 3 releases now, I have been a little removed from the Lightning experience product team. So if you have questions, I probably don't know the answers anymore in terms of what's coming on the roadmap, but I am more than happy to take that to the team and get you an answer. So just wanted to kind of level set there. But as I was going through and preparing for today, every release note or release overview deck that I looked at, it was all Lightning. So if you're still on the fence about Lightning, just know that all of our features and really focus from a product perspective is on enhancing Lightning experience. So as I said, going through those releases to kind of come up to speed with everything Lightning, it was just close to 100% Lightning experience features in those releases. So something to consider, again, if you are not on Lightning or if you have customers who are not yet there, that should be part of the discussion, really maintaining or making sure that we're getting the most out of our investment in Salesforce. And that really is making the move to Lightning. Now, we were talking a little bit about security, sorry, not security, it's very early here, but we were talking a little bit about performance, and that's really one thing that's safe harbor and under forward-looking statements. So again, I'm not close to the roadmap as I used to be, but if I say anything that is not yet in Lightning experience, but I know to be coming, just know that that falls under our forward-looking statement, and that any and all purchasing decisions should be made based on what's currently and readily available today in the application. But as you have questions, please feel free to ask. Again, if you have any sort of experience that you want to share, please do share that as well so that we can all learn from each other. Okay, so if you have not yet tried out Lightning, I want you to meet Lightning Experience because it really is the new way that we do Salesforce. And everything within Lightning is around these efficiency-driven workspaces where we are really helping to serve up information to our users so that they can more easily and efficiently do their job. It's all around activity-oriented design so that we can take you to the next action with high-velocity sales. We're more or less presenting you everything that you need to do within your job through some of the Service Cloud features. We're providing you with the next case or the next piece of information that you need to be working on, really taking any and all of the guesswork out of what do I do next or what activities do I take to further this record along. We take any of that, or we help to take that guesswork out of your jobs. And then, of course, we build everything with the idea of making it smarter with artificial intelligence. And our artificial intelligence engine is Einstein. Building that in where we can. There's a lot of places where you can interact with an Einstein feature for free. But there are others that are paid add-ons if you want to look further into those. I won't be talking to those because I don't have much experience with those, but just know that pretty much everything that we build, we try to think, how can we make it smarter? How can we make it better for the end user? And how can we inject that artificial intelligence piece into it? So I came up with a curated list of 10 different features. This list could be exhaustive, but I just wanted to bring it down to 10. So I don't want anyone to think that this is by any means the only features, within Lightning Experience that you should be thinking of, but really just to start getting you into the Lightning Experience mindset. I thought 10 was a nice round number. So we'll dive into these in a little bit more detail, but if you want to just take a look at what I consider to be kind of the top 10, at least as we start to level set with the experience, go ahead and take a look. Now, it keeps popping up here, so I'm not sure if people are trying to chat. Oh, yes, if you have any Q&A, please do share in between. And this is being recorded and will be shared on the YouTube channel. Okay. So Lightning apps, if you think about just an app in terms of what it means in Salesforce, really is a collection of tabs. So that is something that will help the sales team do their job better by giving them the sales-focused objects within one place. The marketing team do their job better by giving them all the marketing-centric objects in one place. And that really is what we talk about when we consider apps in Lightning Experience. Now, in Classic, Console was an app navigation type, but it was an add-on if you didn't have Service Cloud. So what's great about Lightning Experience now is that we have the ability to use console apps, and we have the ability to use the ones that come out of the box or create our own. Now, if you've never used a console app, the one thing that I would always question individuals or our community members that I would talk to about Lightning, really, I would ask if you open multiple Salesforce tabs in one browser. So as you're on a report or a list view, you right click and you say open a new tab. Well, I do that too. I know I'm not the only one. And at some point, we start to have a lot of browser tabs open at the top. And what happens with those browser tabs is that they're running individual instances of Salesforce. It's slowing down our machine. And also, it could cause some performance issues as we're working within Salesforce. Now, the other risk that we run is that those tabs time out, and ultimately trying to become more efficient by just opening a lot of tabs really hasn't worked for us, because they've ultimately timed out and we just need to go and reopen those records anyways. So a great alternative to that really is a console app. And so as you can see here from the picture, is that we really have this concept now of workspace tabs. We've removed the object names at the top, and we've replaced them with records that you're working with. Now, we've generally in the past talked about console apps in terms of making a service team more efficient. So that's what you see here in the picture. We're working with multiple cases, or we're working on multiple cases. Maybe we have multiple chats open, but it's not just for the service team. Really, anyone that needs to work with multiple records at one time, anyone who's right-clicking and opening a new browser tab, those are all great candidates for using a console app. So I just want to get us out of the mindset that this is really a service-focused feature, because it isn't. Now, if you have, let's say, an executive that really just wants to go in and look at like a list view of opportunities, a standard navigation app is probably just fine for them. But again, if you are working with multiple records at the same time, console app really is where I'd point you. So within that, we have this idea of workspace tabs. As we work with related records, those become subtabs, which ultimately we could make a workspace tab of its own. It's really up to how we want to work with our data. But the great part about this is that those tabs are retained until we close them. Now, that might not be great if you have a lot of records open, which I've also been known to do. But we have some ways for you to quickly and easily close the tabs you're working on, or we have the ability with macros to close a tab automatically, or we have some shortcuts to close all tabs. So there are some ways in which we can navigate around that tab retainment, but I think it's great because when I'm working with records and it's around the end of my day, chances are I want to pick right back up with those records when I start my day tomorrow. So in having that tab retained, especially after I log out and log back in, it's a huge productivity win for me. And then we see something that will come up a little bit later, and it's this concept of a split view. So what's highlighted in red there with all my cases open, all my open cases listed, that is a split view. It's available in a standard navigation app. And when I say standard navigation app, that really is that the objects are listed along the top. But it's a great way, as you can see here, where I can keep a list view open as I'm working with records. So maybe if I want to have a call down list for different prospects, or I have cases that I'm working, something like that, I can quickly and easily keep it open, and I can open multiple records at one time. And then if and when appropriate, I can just collapse that to later expand when I'm ready, maybe to make 5 more calls or work on the next case. So it's just one more way in which we're not taken away from what we're working on to get more information. And we'll see this a lot with Lightning, that in how we provide data to you, or in how we allow you to interact with your data, it really is to prevent you from having to flip back and forth, which ultimately takes you out of context and can slow you down. So all productivity wins. One more thing and I do have another slide for it, is this idea of a persistent footer. So this also was something that was only available within console apps within Classic, and we brought it into all apps. So regardless of the navigation type that you choose, you have the ability to put in things like list views, macros, flows, history, right there within the footer. Quick access to your notes, as you see from my picture here. So that, again, we're not taken maybe back to the home page, or we're not taken away from what we're doing in order to create a new note, or in order to get the history of where we've been. Great example of how I use it is that when I'm working with different records within an org and someone asks for a dashboard that I've recently been on, I don't have to go back to that dashboard to get the URL to send to them. I can just go into my history and I can click on the link, and I can send the link to my colleague, and ultimately continue doing what I've been doing. So think about what your users do most, and if appropriate, put in the utility bar so that there's no switching, no context switching, and they are allowed to be more productive in their work. And sorry, I've just been admitting people as it pops up on my screen. Oh, that's okay. Okay, now the next piece is really
Sorry to interrupt. It's a question related to the utility section you just showed. I mean,
Yeah.
is that okay? I mean, if we ask question in between?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So this utility bar, I think that this utility bar is only like configurable per app. For example, for sales app we need to configure it differently. For service app we need to configure it differently. So is there any way to like globalize this thing, like just accessible to all the apps, like not just app specific configuration for utility bar? That is,
Yeah, that's a great question, and I don't know the answer to it, but I'll take it back to the product team. I have not actually heard that before, but that doesn't mean it's not a great idea. The one thing that I'll say to how it's set up now is really the thought is that what you provide to your users would be different in a sales versus service. But I do like that idea. I mean, why not give everyone notes, or, have like the same starting point, kind of like you do with apps, right? You give people a starting point and they can add on if and where appropriate. So I'll take that back to the team and I'll see.
That's okay. I'll probably disturb you with more questions, because I'm a very like that kind
Great.
of anyway. There's one more, you mentioned that console thing, the slide back to that, just the console one. So the sales console is there, right? Service console is there. I think they are like lightning specific console only. They are not available to classic, I think.
Right.
But this console thing that you are showing, are you telling me that there's a console template that we can customize from scratch, or I'm asking,
Yeah. So when you go into the app manager, where you'll see those apps that have come over from Classic, and those that we've given you out of the box, you can create a new app and just identify it as a console navigation. And I'll list that here for when we go into a demo. So I can quickly show you, but yeah, any app at its inception can either be a standard navigation app or a console navigation. Once you save that app though, there's no going back. So.
All right. Got it. So, and the tabs thing that you just told, that's a pretty cool feature, that it lets us save the the records that we are working, and it's really a productivity enhancement for the users. The feedback that we have got in the multiple projects for Lex, it's really great. But can we also control that? I mean, let's suppose that let's suppose if we don't want to retain the open records the next time we log in, the same thing that happens in Google Chrome. Is there
Yeah.
any setting to control that?
So when I used to be very close to the product manager for this, it was something that they were working on, where basically an individual would set the preference that when I close out, none of my tabs should be retained. I'm not sure where that is, so I am putting it down to follow up with him.
Okay. I'll probably ask a little less questions because
No, this is great. But yeah, I mean, that was a big ask, because while it might be great for a service team, to continue to work on these cases, I myself use it to just look up contact information, and I'm pretty bad about closing the tabs after. I look up the contact, I see what I need, and then I move on. Chances are I'm done with
same
that
thing
contact.
happens with
Yeah.
me. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and then I ultimately come to a point where I'm just x for like a minute. So I can definitely say, even for myself, that would be a great productivity win. So I'll follow up with the product team on that.
Okay, thanks. That's all.
Thanks for asking. Okay, now, the other great thing about a console app is this idea that you can pin tabs. So I have a dashboard that I look at all the time. So I just pin it really to the front, and we can see, like, there's a little case icon, little suitcase at the to the left of the open case in the image, and that just means that it's pinned. So that's probably a case that I'm working on. It's a very long case to resolve, and so I need it there for easy access. And really, before Lightning, you could only do that in a console app. Now we have an idea of that and a concept of that in standard navigation. So it's really falling under the personalization topic, that I would say, but it allows you to take dashboards, list views, records, favorites that you have, and put them into your navigation bar for easy access. So you can see here that when I open my adoption dashboard, I can add it in a new tab so that it follows along, accounts, contacts, opportunities, adoption dashboard. And if I want, I can add that permanently. Now, to add it permanently really is something that only you will see in your navigation bar, but you have the ability to remove it later if it's no longer appropriate to be a part of your navigation. Now, you are able to rename these. So opportunities over 1,000K in my example, it's pretty self-explanatory, but back to that case example, 00139 doesn't really mean much to me, maybe. So in that respect, renaming the tab would be appropriate. And that doesn't change anything with the record. It just is how it's presented to me. So if you have users that are working in the same list view with the same dashboard over and over, I would really recommend that they add it to the navigation bar so that they have quick access, really one-click access to it. And if you don't know, the navigation bar allows users to add to it, so objects or something of this nature. They can't take anything away that you've given them, meaning that you've built into your app. So if you've given them accounts, contacts, and opportunities, they can't take away any of those objects. They can only add to them. But they can rearrange them. So if they don't care about something, they can move it to the end. Or if they care heavily about this dashboard that I show in the permanent, they can make it first. So that's where they land when they come into Salesforce. So that's a great option when your home page isn't necessarily serving you. You can replace it with something that it is more meaningful to you as a user. So a lot of personalization aspects there. And then the last point that I'll say is you'll probably find as you're opening objects that aren't a part of the app, or you're opening different records or navigating your way around, you'll find that they open automatically as temporary tabs, and you can do what you want with them. If there's no real need to retain that, as you close out Salesforce, they won't be added, or they won't be there the next time you log in. All right. Now I mentioned this concept of favorites and the ability that you can add them to the navigation bar, but this is just like you would favorite a browser tab. So as you can see from this example, I have opportunities, I mean list views, I have different properties, actual records that I look at, and I have a case. So I can add records, list views, dashboards, reports, chatter groups into my favorites. I can quickly and easily find them in the upper right-hand corner. I can also find them in that little navigation widget or arrow next to the object names. Excuse me. Now I didn't mention this in the navigation, but you have the ability right from the object tab to create a new record, to quickly access your favorites. My favorite thing is to quickly access your recent list views and your recent records. So as you are working with records and you want to quickly and easily get back to it, I usually click on that drop down and just go right back to the recents, and it saves me a few clicks. All right, just like you can rename the tabs, you can rename favorites. It doesn't do anything to rename the record. It just gives you a little bit more context as you look at your favorites here. Great example. I only have one case there. Chances are I know what the case is, but as you start working with multiple records that are really auto-numbered, they can quickly and easily be mistaken or forgotten. So I would rename them. List views got a huge enhancement as we move over into Lightning Experience. I will say that I've really simplified it for the purposes of this presentation. At first I had slides for like everything, and I was like, I should probably start chipping away some of these slides. So I don't do all of these features justice with this slide, but just know that there's some awesome enhancements for list views. You're seeing Kanban here with a report chart, just with a chart. And it's a completely different way to look at that same data. So if you're looking at a list view, it's great. It's a list of items. You can rearrange how you're looking at the data by filtering that list view or by sorting on the different fields. So by alphabetical nature, you can see the top or the bottom. Now, that's great, but we can't really look at it in a higher level or a broader sense. So as we move into Lightning Experience, we now have this concept of a Kanban. People say Kanban, it's all just in, I think, how you say it. So there's no wrong answer there, but it's now taking that list of data and giving it to you in a way where you can start to make sense of the data a little bit easier. You can still click into records as you need them, but we're starting to see now, as an example, how much I have in each stage. Or I always like the example that you can look at this by owner. So as a service manager, I want to see how many cases each of my agents have. So I'll look at this, I'll look at an open case list view by owner, and I can really quickly and easily search, make sense of the data in that list view. So it's not just by stage, it's by any pick list that you want. And you have the ability to drag and drop those tiles that you see. You can edit the records really right there within a pop-up screen, which is nice. You don't necessarily have to go into the record to make an edit. And then new with, I believe, Spring, which everyone should have in their orgs, we bring the path data into the Kanban view. So as I click on a record, I can see all of the path information. So those key fields that are provided. And if you don't know what path is, I'll go over it in just a minute, and guidance for success. So again, we're trying to keep you in context longer by giving you as much data as we think you need before you ultimately have to make a switch into a new record or out of the record that you're working with. And a chart is just another way to visually see the data that you have, so that at a quick glance, I can understand how much I have in each of the stages. Now, for the most part, the summary at the top and this chart are showing me the exact same information. I'm just showing you that there's a lot of different ways that we can now look at and interact with our data in a list view to make us more efficient and really effective. You can summarize by any numeric field, so it doesn't always just have to be currency either. And you don't have to have any number, but just think about how you, as a user or a manager, can start to make more sense of your data at a quick glance. And then I mentioned it before, but I'll just bring it right back here. That split view is available to everyone. So whether you are on a standard navigation or a console navigation, I can have that abbreviated list view on my left-hand side to open or collapse as I'm working with data, so that I can quickly and easily get to the next record. Now, I say abbreviated because you only get a subset of the fields from the list view if you were to expand it. If you have all 10 fields in the list view, as you take it down to split view, that would be really overwhelming. So we just give you, I believe, 4. So again, there's a lot more that you can do with list views. I've really just truncated it for purposes of this presentation, but it's worth noting for yourself as a user or for your customers that you don't always have to be working in reports. You can quickly and easily start to see a lot more data within your list view. Now, lightning pages, this is another one where I had multiple slides for the different types of pages, but ultimately came down to just one. So lightning pages, I'm representing it with a home page, but we have record pages. So that's as we get into records themselves. And we have app pages. And that's really a page that's not quite a home page, but it's not related to any record. And I use app pages for onboarding purposes, for company announcements. It's where you can add chatter and rich text and just different components that that can serve up information to your users, but again, isn't a home page and it's not connected to a record. Now, I kind of spell out that we have different lightning pages and page types so that you know that there are different components that will be available to you. So these components are building blocks of a page. You can kind of see a little gray outline, and this is really representing a component. So there's a performance component, there's a news component, an upcoming events, a today's task, kind of as I go around this page, and an assistant. These are all building blocks. So you can move them, you can remove them, you can add others. I'm not sure the number that we're up to in terms of components for a home page, but those will be standard components that we give you out of the box. And then if you want to build any components or go onto the App Exchange, you'll also have the ability to add custom components. Now, as we move into records, of course, we wouldn't have all of the same components like performance or assistant. Those are very home-centric, but we now have things that make sense for our records. So we have details and we have related lists and highlights panel, etc. So as you move around, of course, you'll see new components, and even within objects themselves, you'll see different components. I always like to use the example of the knowledge component. For a while, that was only available on a case, a work order, some service-centric objects, and you would only find those on the service or that component on the service-centric objects. Now we have knowledge everywhere, so that's no longer a great example. But just know if you're on an object and you've added a component and later you go to another object and you don't see that component, it's probably because it's tied to the object itself. So something to keep in mind. The other great thing with this new idea of a component based page is the ability to show or not show information to our users. Now, we have the ability to make a component visible based on some criteria. So usually the criteria that I use is based on who the user is, who's viewing the record or the page, or based on what's happening with the record itself. So if it's in a certain stage, maybe show or don't show a component. If I'm on a home page, maybe only show a dashboard if you're an executive, if you're in an executive role. Just think about how you serve up information to your users. Do they need to see it? And if so, do they always need to see it? And if not, start adding that component visibility. That may help with performance as well. As we build these pages, we have a lot of power at our fingertips, but with that comes a great responsibility, I always say. So make sure that you're not just adding a ton of components because you can. Make sure you're doing so thoughtfully and if appropriate with your users so that you're really building a page that works for them and that's performant. So helping your users and yourself understand that while we could add 5 different report charts onto a page, do we really need to? And if the answer is yes, great. By all means, you can add those. But do think about how you build a page with performance in mind, because when we have 5 report charts, we do have to wait for those to render before the page fully loads. If you want to add those multiple components, again, do so, but I would recommend that you put it on behind a tab so that it's not something that is automatically provided to your user when they open up that record, but rather when they click a tab, that's when everything renders. So just to keep that in mind. Now, for a long time, we would serve up record details to our users using the same page layout as we did in Classic, which was great because as we made the transition, it was a lot easier because we knew when looking at an opportunity, there were so many fields in a particular order. As we moved to Lightning, we saw all those same fields in the same particular order. And that was because they all came from the underlying record details. Now, we are moving away from that into what we call dynamic forms. So this is now allowing you to take all of the fields that you have and putting them into different sections. Sorry, I know it's pretty small here, but I've taken details and I've added that to a details section on my page. And then I've taken warehouse information and I've added it to another section on my page. And then the system information, last modified, created by, all of that can just kind of reside in a system information section on my page. Now we can also do this behind tabs. So I've seen this done where we really start breaking up, let's say like a car. If you're looking at a car, one tab is for the interior information. The next tab's for the exterior information. Another tab's for the make, model, year. All those fields that would just more or less be on one page in Classic or prior to dynamic forms can now be broken up in a way that serves you and your users best. So dynamic forms is available for custom objects and slowly rolling out to standard objects. So think about how you can break up your page layout as it exists today so that the information is very meaningful for your users and is surfaced in a way that's meaningful. Now, with the ability to break this up also allows you to introduce that idea of visibility again. So with components, I mentioned that we could show or not show. Now we can do that at the field level and at the button level. So it goes beyond field level security, et cetera, into if I'm not in that stage, don't show them that field. Or if they're not a CEO, don't show them that field. And all of that can be done with dynamic forms. And so sorry, I know I'm going super slow. The path provides you the ability to walk your users through processes and procedures so that they can be standardized, giving your users guidance for success along the way and serving up key fields. I mentioned this is now available as information provided in the Kanban view, which is awesome. You don't have to provide key fields or guidance for success. It might just be a nice indicator at the top of your record where you're at. And the path, it doesn't always have to represent a stage. So as you're moving through, maybe you're utilizing path for industry information. So you put industry as your path chevrons, and your users can go in and they can click on the different industries and see the relevant information that you've provided in the guidance. So don't think of path as just something that walks you through like a life cycle record from inception to completion, but how you can use it really with any pick list field to provide your users with the most information that's relevant for them. Calendar has some nice updates as we move into Lightning Experience. The one thing that I absolutely love is that you can see records from any object on a calendar. So as I'm working with service managers, it's nice to see when cases were opened. And the cases that are still open. And really, I can go back and see, wow, you know, I have one from last month that's still open. It's just another way to look at your data. And that can be overlapped with your upcoming events, your team's events, et cetera, all kind of in that calendar view. Now, I mentioned that really we use artificial intelligence and inject that machine learning into so many of our features, and some are paid and some are free. The one that everyone can take advantage of is search. So do think about how you can take search to the next level for your users. I love it because it allows really personal language or natural language. So like my open cases or opportunities in California, and will provide you results in that way. But also, as you can see from this picture, when you find a record that you're looking for, it'll show you relevant information and it will show you related lists. And you can hover over and find what you're looking for potentially within that related list. So one way in which I use it a lot is looking up people that I work with. So as I look in our org, you know, I type in their name, I just kind of scroll down to their name in the results. I hover over and I can see everything I need about them. I don't have to go into their record and I can move on and you know, continue on with my day. Now reports, we were talking about this really at the beginning. Reports are inherently different as we move into Lightning Experience, because it's not just a SQL query providing you with results. It is something where you can interact with your data. With that, we've given you a whole new report builder. This is an old example because we've changed some of the options available to you. But really, we want to make report building accessible to anyone. And so we took away the need to know what a tabular report is, what a matrix report is, what a summary report is. And we just have you group rows, group columns by the fields that you want. And then we'll create that summary report, or we'll create that matrix report. You can quickly and easily add or remove fields. And then behind the scenes within the filters, you can do everything that you do with classic reports, but you also have some capabilities of field by field filtering. So let's say if I don't have a great example. If projected closed state is greater than closed state, or something like that. Now we can compare two numbers on a record against each other rather than like a static date or number that you put in there. Now, we also have the ability to do row level formulas, excuse me. So I know a lot of people used to export data into Excel so that they could do those row level formulas, really calculate data across record details. Now we can do that right within the report. And then unique count. I know a lot of us do power of one to do something similar to this, but if we have a list of opportunities and we want a unique count of the accounts that relate to those opportunities, we can do that right within the report now. And then what I love is adding a report to a dashboard. So you don't have to start from a dashboard anymore and go to the report. From the report, you can add it to a dashboard. And dashboards get an overhaul as we move into Lightning Experience. As you see here, we are no longer confined by those 3 columns. We really do have the ability to stretch out over 9 to 12 columns of information. We can scroll through information, like here we have a little scroll bar. We could have made it taller if we wanted. And then we can pop out these dashboards, which I absolutely love doing, so that it really is like a full screen. I love having conversations with my team, really stepping through each dashboard component as if it were a PowerPoint presentation. And then we can also chatter at the dashboard level, as we see up here with the little talk bubbles, but also at the component level. So when I'm looking at it in that expanded view, I can quickly either make notes about what we had talked about or I'd mention someone so that I can get a greater visibility. You see it in like a white background here, but you also have the ability to go dark mode, with the dashboard or with specific components. It doesn't have to be at the dashboard level. So I definitely recommend going in and modifying those dashboards, playing around with your sitting down with your users and making modifications so that it works for them. You still have the limit as far as how many components you can add, but it does get an overhaul. Now you can subscribe to reports and dashboards similar to what you would do in Classic. Now in Classic, it wasn't subscribing, and sorry, I can't remember the word right now, but it was, they're two different things. So whatever you had signed up for in Classic, you'll still get until you stop, and subscribing is separate from that. There is a limit as to how many things you can subscribe to, and I know that's it's a small number, and it's one of the top requested things to raise that limit. I don't know where the team's at in talking about that though, in full transparency.
The subscribing is like you can subscribe to the reports or something, then whenever something changes, you get notified, things like that?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
You can set the criteria of more or less when you receive that.
It happens on the report level or some other way, like the configuration?
Yeah, when you go in and you hit subscribe, there should be the ability to set criteria.
Okay, thanks.
And sorry, I don't know like the official name for it, for you to like look in help and training, but
Yeah, that's okay. That's
yeah.
okay.
Okay. I'm so sorry. I know I'm running out of time here. As you can tell, I'm very passionate about lightning. I even got a lightning bolt tattoo for one of the Dreamforces because I love lightning so much. But so user engagement tools, really, we want your users to be the best that they can be in utilizing Salesforce, but we understand that taking them away from their job to do training, et cetera, is not ideal. So we want to bring all of that learning, whether it's for onboarding or other purposes, right into the app. And so in-app guidance is really the ability to serve up information in context. So one example that I always use is just, hey, did you know that you can now look at your list view in Kanban? Now you can add images. So we could add a little image of where you go to switch your list view to Kanban. So things like that, where we're not taking them away from what they're doing, but in the course of their work, we're giving them these tips and tricks. It really is what in-app guidance is for. In-app learning is new and in beta, but you should now see a little trailhead symbol within your org, and that allows you to go in and add modules for your users. I know there used to be like Trail Tracker, which is still a great app, but now we can more or less just provide them learning capabilities right within the app. And it doesn't always have to be specific to Trailhead. As you can see here, there's other learning components that we've provided. So consider maybe how you want your users to learn and how you curate that information, providing it to them in that in-app learning. And then, of course, help and training is not new. It's behind that question mark. What is new to Lightning Experience is the ability to customize what you give to your users. So we're going to serve up information to you based on the object that you're on. So you'll see the different help articles changing. But as an admin, we can go in and we can provide help and training. Because I know that a lot of people do not use Salesforce, straight out of the box. It's heavily customized. So sometimes we have more direct guidance that's more appropriate for how we use the app than what Salesforce provides. So we can modify that help and training. And we also have the ability to turn off the Salesforce help because, like I said, maybe we don't use opportunities like you're going to tell my users how to use an opportunity. So I just don't want to confuse them at all. Okay, and then last but not least in my list of 10 is mobile. All of this really comes into your mobile app. I know we're not really traveling right now, but maybe as we're working from our phones because our family members are using our computers, whatever it may be, we're not prevented from doing our work. And all of those components that I really started this talk off with, those components are, most of them are available on your mobile. So just as we build out the page to be most efficient for our users on the desktop, that same will hold true as we move into the mobile. So it's no longer this disjointed experience as we move from desktop to mobile. It really is consistent in making our users more effective, more efficient, and better at their jobs. I did add just a picture here of that Einstein Search because I love it. It's on our mobile. And the great thing about mobile is not only the ability to work with our Salesforce data, but it's to utilize the phone capabilities as well, like voice. So do think about how you can start being more efficient with your Salesforce app as it relates to finding information and then interacting with it. These are just a few resources. So if you are new to Lightning Experience, this learning map really walks you through discover, roll out, and optimize with a ton of curated resources. So I would point you to that. We do have an exclusive features ebook. We don't number the exclusive features, but I believe it is like 76 pages. So that's just to show you that there's a lot that we've built that's only available in Lightning. So not only are you missing out on all of the future releases, but there's a lot of tangible features that are available to you now, but only in Lightning. And then just a quick trail mix really on the basics of Lightning experience and how to get started with it. So with that, I know I'm a little over and I'm so sorry, but I want to thank you so much for your time today. And I'll just put those resources back on.
Thank you so much, Kelly, for the amazing session. And like, it's not the members who attended this session is taking the advantage of it. It's actually me also taking the advantage of it, because I could able to understand the things and try to implement those things within my system as well. So it's really good to have you with us, and hope to have you more sessions with us in upcoming future. And I know that you have something in line. We'll be building some of the slides on different topics. So I'll be reaching out to you once again for that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm always
And,
happy to come and speak. Thank you so much for that opportunity.
Yeah, and there are some of the questions which is lined up over here into the chat bar.
All right,
If you
let's
want
see.
it.
Yeah, so let's see. Okay. 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 So is the console app specific to Classic? No, it's available in Lightning. The one thing is that they are built differently. So if you had consoles in Classic, you have to rebuild them, or at least you did have to rebuild them in Lightning. But now consoles are available to everyone, not just individuals who either have the special license or are on Service Cloud. So that's a big win. Can you manipulate console tabs through code? I'm not sure about that. The only thing that I'll say about what I know in terms of tabs and code is that there was the ability to limit the number of tabs that you could have open, and that was through some code. So I'm not quite sure about how to extend past that, but that might be a great question for the community to see how people are introducing code into console. Okay, so a console app and a custom app, excuse me. Here I will just get out really quickly. Oops. And just show you, this is a standard navigation app. And then as I go into the Sales Console, we'll no longer see those object names along the top. Now it's basically allowing me to open different records, and those records become what I see at the top. And then, as I mentioned, here's my split view, which I can collapse. As I mentioned, we now have this concept of Workspace Tabs, which is Burlington Textiles, excuse me. But as I open related records like Jack, that is now a sub tab. So not only does it help me retain my tabs or prevents me from having a lot of browser tabs open, it also allows me to really organize what I am opening. So that's a quick overview of standard navigation and console. And as I mentioned, I'll just show you here. As I go in to setup and I go into App Manager, to be honest, I do like the setup better here, but I still always just use that quick find. The App Manager, in creating a new Lightning app, this is, oh, not here. Just do a test. this is where we set the navigation style. And as I mentioned, once it's set and saved, you can't go back to it, but that's where you can create a net new console. And as you see, now that Lightning is on mobile, our apps can be desktop only, phone only, or available on both. Great questions, Arun. Thank you so much for the discussion. Okay. All right. Why do some tabs have a star symbol? So if I go back and I just go to my sales app again, I'll look here and I'm going to open something that is not in my navigation. So I'm just going to pick something which I'm going to assume is not in my navigation, timesheets. And so timesheets now has that star next to it. And what that means is it's a temporary tab. So when I close out of Salesforce, it will not be retained when I log back in. But this is where I can start to make that a more permanent tab within my app itself. So as we see here, add timesheets to the navigation bar. And when I do that, the star symbol will be removed because it's no longer a temporary tab. It's now become a more permanent tab until I go in and modify my app. So here's everything that my admin's given me, and then what I've added, and I can just X out of it to remove it. Okay. So are the classic apps converted to console apps by default in Lightning? That's where I, at least not when I worked heavily with it, were console apps classic console apps were not automatically created as Lightning console apps. Instead, you had to rebuild them. All of the other apps, like the sales app or ones like this that you've built, we have we have given you the ability to convert that to a Lightning app. So there's still some manual intervention there. Okay. Governor limit of records, like on pages. So in terms of like governor limits of records that you can have open in a console app or else, I don't think there are. But when we start thinking about adding components to pages, I believe it's 25 components per region. So if you look here, this is a bad example because it's all just one region. But if we go into like an opportunity, you'll see that we have a wide area on top, and then we have a wider area next to it, below it, and then like a small margin. So these are 3 regions. And at that point, that's where I'm saying we can put like 25 up top, 25 here, 25 there. I would not recommend doing that for performance. But if you introduce different visibility criteria, at that point, it would make sense. Now, I do believe that as we work with tabs, we can increase that. So these tabs, that would be one component. And I'll just show you kind of behind the scene really quick here. When I go into edit this page, you'll see that these are all the components that are standard out of the box, and tabs is just one. But then within the tabs, I can start to add. So I believe that allows us to add a lot more components within this region. So hopefully that makes sense. Now, if you don't love tabs, or if your users don't love tabs and you can rename these tabs, these are just what we've given you out of the box, I would recommend accordion. So allowing for expandable sections, and that would be similar in terms of improving performance, because really we only render what's in the expanded section or on the tab at the point that you move to another tab or another section. That's when those components would render. So if you're having performance issues, think about how you can introduce tabs. I've also used tabs within tabs. So if you want like the idea of subtabs, you can do that too. In the utility bar, I don't know what the limits are in terms of what you can add to that persistent footer. Okay. Okay, and then it looks like there's this a question about the apps. As I mentioned, as we go in, we'll see all of our classic apps, and we can still use, for the most part, our classic apps in Lightning, but we can't have that persistent footer in the utility bar, and we can't modify our navigation. So there are limitations of using classic apps in Lightning. That's why we'd recommend making them Lightning apps. I don't think I have any custom apps, but if I had a custom classic app, and clicking here, it would allow me to convert it to a Lightning app. As I mentioned, we don't just automatically do it for you. We give you some out of the box, but then we allow you to convert the others. So with that, we've answered all the questions, and I hope that's helped.
Yeah, that was really helpful. I have some more.
Okay.
Okay. Just, I mean, like you mentioned, this the files are the like really out of the box thing, and like we need to migrate the notes and attachments and all these sort of things, because it's not completely supported in like Lightning. So whenever we switch, we usually like uh, migrate that data. For that, we use I mean, I personally recommend clients to use Magic Mover tool that is also built by Salesforce, the Salesforce Labs people. So do you have any like tools or any utilities on top of your mind that can be really helpful to make this kind of or any other kind of transition easier? That is one. And apart from that, I'll ask more. I'll have a couple of more questions. Can you I mean, tell me anything about this?
So in that first link that I provided
Got it.
within my resources, and I'll share this deck with you. This is where we have a lot of the different resources that we've created over the years. So you may find in here the different tools, like the convert attachments and notes. So I would recommend you check out some of these. Now,
Definitely.
I'm sure there are great resources out there on the App Exchange. I'm just not familiar with them. So between this journey map or learning map and the transition assistant that's within your org's setup, I think we at least provide all of the different tools that we've created to help make the migration transition easier.
Got it. So this, I mean, I'm hoping that this thing also covers the corner cases. Like, I mean, what happens that all of those custom components that have, like, for example, there are things like JavaScript buttons, so they don't work. So we usually like either create. I mean, the JavaScript things doesn't work. Either they are in VF pages, all the scripts they fail. So we usually do some workarounds or convert those components. So do you have any of those corner cases on top of your mind right now? I mean, I'll check those resources definitely. But do you have any of those corner limitations? I mean, I'm pitching about the negative side towards like just to stay informed. So That's
Yeah.
one. Yeah, that's one.
Yeah, we do have this convert JavaScript button tool. It doesn't do all of your buttons, and there are more complex buttons that you still may have to rewrite.
Yeah.
What we've done for that is provided like a Git repository with some samples, but you know, some of those may just be may just have to start from scratch.
Yeah,
which is
actually, Kelly, I just want to interrupt over here that
yeah.
I have
Please do.
started working on these converting JavaScript buttons to the Lightning components, and I have used this tool already. So by this tool, it actually gives you an idea how to convert them, and it actually gives you the DOM structure of the components, which requires to convert the JavaScript buttons to the components. But anyhow, we need to convert them into the Lightning components for sure, because in Lightning, the quick actions can handle the things on the behind the scene. Lightning components can work over that, but the JavaScript buttons doesn't work at all, so it doesn't show up into the Lightning actions and all. So these tools gives you the idea how can we build the things, how can we move forward with the things. It actually doesn't give you or build the whole scenario of your JavaScript button to a Lightning component. So that's actually a great point when my Lightning adoption team actually gives this tool and gives us an idea that how can we do that, how can we show those buttons over the Lightning. So that's what I was thinking initially, but at the end I got to know that the Lightning components are the results for that.
Yeah, great addition there. Thank you. There are some JavaScript use cases where you know, mentioned that we can help you create that Lightning component. Others will try to provide guidance, and then there may be some that are more complex that
totally
require you
understand.
to
I
think
mean,
about,
I was that's totally understandable. I was just, you know, I was just asking, you know, if you have anything on top of your mind, like that thing is one. I mean, what doesn't work while transition, like files is one, like JavaScript thing is one. So we do usually need to take extra measures to implement that. So I also want to highlight this thing. I'm pretty sure that you already know this, but since like I mean led two transition projects, and in both of them what happens is like even the directors or director level people or the user bases of marketing and sales people, they usually come up with this thing that they want to reevaluate the speed thing. Why? I mean, they think that the speed thing is actually not that great. When I mean, yeah, I have also experienced it to some point, but the metric says a different thing. Like the loading mechanisms of when it comes to Classic, it's a bit different when it comes to Lightning. So, what do you have to say about this? Like, I know that we are moving towards LWC and all of these measures to increase the speed, but I mean, do you have anything to say about this? I mean, just a small thing would have.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to stop sharing for a minute and look for a white paper that we've put out in terms of performance and speed. I can't find it easily here. And I can provide this to you, but sorry, if I can't find it really quick, then I'll just give up.
That's okay. That's okay. I don't wanna, so ask a lot
Yeah.
of questions.
No, they're great questions. What I will do is I will provide this. Oh, here, I found it. Sometimes I can find it faster than I thought. So like I said, I'll provide this to you. Let me just open it real quick and then I'll reshare. Okay, and sorry I wasn't ready with this, but okay. So, okay, can you see this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I know that this version, at least that I found quickly, is from 2019. I'll see if it's more updated, but it kind of talks about the differences between the two experiences and why it's different than Classic in terms of the experience page time. And, I'll just kind of briefly walk you through that.
That's okay.
And the different factors that could be impacting, and then how to start measuring the page times. Excuse me. There are some definite cases where pages are running slow, and it's much slower than our average page runtime. And so sometimes, like, our product team will look deeper into that. But there's some ways to kind of measure what we have here. We have an in-app tool to allow you to see kind of performance by browser. I don't know if you looked at that. Performance by page. If you see that the performance by page is really poor, we can dig deeper into that by using like event monitoring.
Yeah, I did all that. Yeah.
Okay. So the other thing that we also talk about is the fact that this is now very browser based.
Yes, regional factors as well. There are a lot of factors, but I just wanted to, just confirm like that thing is going on in the market, and users are like pretty pissed off sometimes when it comes to this. But
definitely.
Yeah. I think that we'll definitely achieve it.
Okay, so let me send you this white paper. And then, like I said, we do have a team internally that's really focused on this, apart from the product teams, like the report teams, where it's top of mind. While we may not be able to necessarily solve or make it super fast, the resources are there. So
yeah, thank you. Thanks for that, really.
Yeah.
That helps. And apart from
And
that,
Kelly,
yeah.
we actually took a lot of your time today, and it's a very early morning for you, and we know that.
Well, thank you again for having me. I always love talking to different groups, and you're always so great at providing me with opportunities. I hope everyone walked away with something new about Lightning, and I'll provide the deck, this white paper, and then I'll ask about global utility and well, I don't know what console apps or console tabs closed mean, but I'll follow up with never mind. I'll follow up with that product team to see if there's still the idea of the auto close at logout.
Yep, and it was really awesome session, and we know that the participants were less, but the questions were amazing.
Yeah,
And
thank you so much.
So that's a good part and good sign. Like, we are totally focused on your sessions. We couldn't able to sleep to have you ever, like, every time I used to have you over the sessions, it's pretty much excited for me, because like, it's a new thing which I learned. Last time we had a session from you about the security adoptions, so that was also amazing, like YubiKeys and all. So this and now it's about the lightning migration, and making the productivity very much accelerating into the lightning experience. So that's a great session, and really hoping to have you more sessions in near future. And thank you so much for having us with the amazing session.
You bet.
And
You bet. Thank you again.
thank you
Thank
everyone
you.
for joining.
Thank you, Kelly. It was really informative. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Have a great weekend. Bye bye.